Greetings everybody, I am Brian D0313 and I am here today to talk to you about baseball officiating. Now I am not an expert in baseball nor am I a fan. I find the sport to be very slow and boring compared to other sports, but I'll do my best to give a good representation of what I think about baseball officiating. So what exactly is baseball officiating? Most people know what's going on with officials in sports such as football, basketball, and hockey, but what about baseball? Bruce Weber from As They See 'Em said it best that you could be a lifelong baseball fan and not know anything about baseball umpiring, which is pretty true. You'd be watching a televised game and you don't really see what is going on in the background with the officiating. Now, when an official makes a bad call, that's when you actually notice them, right? Now, why would you actually notice these officials? No one turns on. Well, it's because no one ever turns on the game to watch baseball officials. They watch the game to watch their team play. What you do mainly see with officiating is a home plate umpire calling balls, strikes, and outs. This is what people have come to accept about baseball officiating. In actuality, there's much more to the game, much more to going on with officiating. In addition to the home plate umpire, there could be from 1 to 3 field umpires as well, depending on the level of the sport. For instance, if it's like Little League or high school, probably don't have like 1 or 2 field umpires, whereas in major leagues you have 3. And these field umpires do not stand at their bases the whole time. Uh, they actually adjust their position based on different scenarios, for instance, where the base runners are located and where the ball is hit. And here we can see an example of what a field umpire and a 2 official setup is usually supposed to do.
Alright, now in this clip, I'm going to show you what a base umpire's positions are. There's 3 positions. The first position is the A position. The A position, you stand in foul territory, behind first base. When the ball is hit, you go into play, you set yourself up so that you have a good line. That's when the ball and the foot meet the base. He gets a close line in between the base and the ball. He can see the foot hit as the ball comes in. He listens. He can hear the base being hit. He can hear the ball hitting the glove. That's how an umpire could see if he's safe or out. And that's the best way, by ear and by sight. The base umpire moves into position. If there's a man on first base, he's in his B position. A B position is in between the mound, second base, and first base. The reason this is the perfect position, you could see a close place at first base. You could see a steal. Ball's past balls going to second base. You turn, you can see second base from here. And you're still in position for any play that's close into second or close back to first. Most times if he goes around first, goes to second, the umpire will run closer to the play, get as close as he can without interfering with the ball. And he got a good line at coming in, that slide coming in, and where the tag is made. All right, in this clip, we're going to go over the third position. Umpires call it the C position. The C position is when there's a man on first and second, or just second. The reason he's in this position is so he can get a good call on the third base or back to second base. He also watches the bases, makes sure every player hits every base from this position. Now, same thing. If he needs a close place going into third base, he runs into the play as close as possible to the bag and the players. And he can get a good line at what's happening right in front of him. That's the C position. Now, don't forget, infield fly rule. That's the position when there's a man on first, second, or third. The infield fly rule is called. That means the guy can't drop the ball on purpose and still throw the guy out. Infield fly rule, you run at your own risk.
As you can see, umpires adjust their position in order to get the best view of the play in order to make the correct call. Now, what does it take to become a good baseball official? Compared to other major sports, I feel baseball officiating is more laid back. This is because there isn't much to look for when it comes to baseball officiating. The major things a baseball official needs to be good at is, for instance, knowing the strike zone, determining the ball goes fair or foul, watching to see if runners safe or out, and to know the baseball rule book inside out. Fairly simple, right? Now, what's the problem? Well, we are humans, of course, therefore we make errors. In the past, there was no real way to actually correct these errors because there was no like a replay like review that they have now in baseball. So, for example, there could be a play to first where the runner is just tagged in the base as the first baseman is receiving the ball and tagged in the player. Now, one time an official may call the play safe, while another time the official would call the play out. Since the play occurs so fast, it becomes harder to make the right call. Luckily, now we do have a replay system, though it's still sort of flawed in many people's opinions, because if you challenge a play and get the play and you fail the challenge, you lose your ability to challenge any other plays. So, what's the point of a replay system if you don't get if you fail one challenge, and then later on there is definitely a play where that is challengeable, you're not allowed to challenge it. Seems kind of like a messed up system in my opinion. Flawed and does need to be revamped, of course. And well, but overall, I think a good umpire just needs to pretty much know the rules, be consistent with their calls, and have a low error rate when they make their calls. Can't be like calling a person out when they're not out, when they're actually safe, and stuff like that. Uh, Now let's discuss consistency a bit more in depth with umpiring, because this is usually one of the major issues arising in the sport. And usually consistency applies to the strike zone. And as we just see, the rulebook defines the strike zone as fouls. On the other hand, baseball officials usually modify the strike zone to their own personal preference. I know one baseball official who has openly admitted to modifying his strike zone when he officiates, because when he used to play, the umpire would always call a strike in a specific location that he did not like. Now, when he officiates, he makes sure that he never calls a strike in that location, even though it is in the official strike zone. Is that right? It seems generally accepted amongst the baseball community. Uh, Now, I am a man who usually believes in the black letter definition of the rules, but I have mixed feelings about the subject. On one side, even though the officials modify the strike zone, they're usually consistent with their calls, and pitchers usually have a good understanding of what each official strike zone is. But on the other hand, pitchers usually train to pitch the ball in the official strike zone. They might have actually practiced throwing a pitch perfectly in the corner of the strike zone where a batter would usually not swing. When it comes time for game day, the pitcher throws a pitch into the same area, and instead of getting the strike call, they did a ball call. So in essence, the modified strike zone is pretty much unfair to pitchers, because every game they need to change up how they throw the ball, which makes it more difficult for the pitchers to improve their skills. Overall, I feel that the strike zone should actually be called the same way, game by game, umpire by umpire. Follow the rule book. That's what I say. Finally, umpires need to have a clear understanding of the rules. If a rule is violated, then a player or team should be penalized, right? Let's look at a clip from the 2013 playoff series between the Red Sox and I believe it was St. Louis.
Tie game in the ninth. Jay grounds one. Pedroia makes the play. Throw home. 2 out. Over the third. It gets away. Alan Craig is going to come to the plate. Here's the throw. He is. The umpire making the call. They're going to say he's safe. There was interference.
Now, as I said, I don't know much about baseball, so when I watched this game, I was shocked at the call. Didn't understand why the disruption call was made. On the other hand, if you were to read the baseball rulebook, you would clearly understand why the officials made the correct call based on the rulebook. At the time, I actually asked a bunch of other baseball fanatics what they thought about the play, and they actually agreed with the call, no matter how ridiculous it seemed. Now, should the officials have actually made the call? The rulebook does say yes, but usually in situations like this, officials are usually supposed to let the players just play the game out. shouldn't really end the game on asterisk like that. Would the Red Sox have actually won the game if the call wasn't made? Probably not. But still, you shouldn't let end the game on a situation like that. Now, let's look at the play a little bit more closely.
Craig in the background, going to third, so the first man is out. The throw is wide, and now Middlebrooks can't get out of the way. Obstruction is called. Craig, who can't run, normally would have been out at home. Saltalamacchia making a great play. There's one out. That's the second out. Wide throw at third. There's the obstruction. Middlebrooks. Unbelievable.
This game ends with an obstruction call. This game ends 5-4 because of that right there. The throw home, it looked like the tag had Craig.
Yes.
But immediately Dana DeMuth points down to third base because of this. As the feet go up, Alan Craig gets tangled in the legs of Will Middlebrooks and can't get toward home plate without falling down.
Inadvertently or otherwise. Jim Joyce must have had a signal with home plate umpire.
Now, the reason for the obstruction call is because the third baseman actually lifted his legs, thus hindering the runner's progress. Had third baseman just laid flat there, pretty much taking himself out of the game and being completely useless, the call would not have been made, and the player would have been maybe out at home. I think this is unfair because if you look more closely at the play, it actually looks like the runner was obstructing the third baseman. The runner was actually pushing down on the third baseman as well as going over top of him instead of running down the clear path along the baseline to home plate. The base runner should have received. Now I think the base runner should have actually received the obstruction call. Overall, both players were at fault. They did obstruct each other, but the rule book says that it was the third baseman's fault for the obstruction, and that's why the call was made. Now, as I said, I don't really think that the call should have been made. If I were the umpire, I would not have made the call in the situation if I were the umpire, of course. But I do commend the umpires themselves for actually making the call. It took a lot of balls to make that call. It was the right call, yes. They did follow the rule, yes. So I did them props. They did follow the rules ethically, but still, I just don't think it should have been called. Just let them play. So overall, I do not feel like baseball officiating is that complex. As I said, just understand the rules and make the correct calls. If an official is pretty much good at what they do at their job, then promote them up to the major leagues. If they are struggling and need improvements, keep them down at the lower leagues like high school, college. Let them hone their skills there. Another nice thing is that there's actually like a baseball university, well, like a baseball training camp, official training camp, where officials could go. They have like classrooms that teaches them baseball, and then they have actual field exercises to hone their skills. So that's pretty nice. So like you don't just have like any random schmuck coming up saying, "Hey, I want to be an official," and they just get thrown into the mix. So that's that. Hope you people enjoyed. This has been Brian D0313 saying, see you and have a good day.